So these last couple chapters of Sakamoto-days have been incredible. We get info on the deer guy and his group of assassins, we learn why they took over the lab, we also get to see the floor bosses. There's an amazing fight where Shin and Sakamoto have to team up against one of those bosses. There's so much juicy stuff in these chapters, so without further ado, let's do the review. Let's start off with chapter 24. This was a great chapter because it set up the general structure for this arc, giving us crucial information about the story while also making it simple, which I'll talk about later. So in the first page of the chapter, we get a diagram of the lab. F1 or floor 1, whatever you want to call it, is the ground level where Shin and Sakamoto initially entered from, and it's actually a museum. It looks and operates like one, but it's mainly there to cloak the existence of the lab. And then we have B1 or basement 1, and this is where Shin and Sakamoto are currently in the story. And then we have B2 and B3. We don't have any information on those floors yet. B4 is where Lu and Asakura are trying to escape from. On the bottom floor, B5, we have Kashima, the leader of the assassination group, and one of the bosses, Saba, the invisible guy from earlier when they stole Lu. And the diagram is more like a roadmap than anything else, because later in the chapter we are introduced to the other bosses of the assassination group, and I guess you can call them like Kashima's commanders, and they all have their own designated floor that they oversee. So in order for Shin and Sakamoto to reunite with Lu, they have to clear out each floor and their respective boss, kind of like a platform game. I really appreciate how they laid out all the information because it gives us, the reader, stuff to think about, discuss, and debate, which I love because it builds community. And remember how I said the information we got was made simple? With the lab diagram and the introduction of the assassination group, we get a relatively linear roadmap. We know that there's strong assassins that Shin and Sakamoto will have to defeat, and strong assassins that Lu and Asakura will have to defeat, but we don't know who they will fight, where or when they'll find each other, or how they're even going to escape. Because keep in mind, Shishiba and Osaraji are right behind Shin and Sakamoto. Once Shin, Sakamoto, Lu, and Asakura find each other, they need to find a way out of the lab. Or I guess they could just defeat Kashima and his commanders, but I don't think they'll have enough energy to fight Shishiba and Osaraji. I can see Sakamoto and the gang finding a way to slip away and have Shishiba and Osaraji fight Kashima, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. While you're at it, hit that like button and subscribe. In the second half of chapter 24, we get introduced to Mad Horiguchi, the boss of B1 and the first boss Shin and Sakamoto have to face. Let me just mention the gag where Shin and Sakamoto hide in the lockers to avoid being detected by the floor boss, and Sakamoto gets molded into a rectangle, was priceless. And it was even funnier because the joke was relevant later on when Sakamoto was trying to get out to help Shin but couldn't because he was really stuck. It was absolutely hysterical. I love the visual gags in the series. Anyways, then Shin engages in a fight with the floor boss on behalf of the scientists, but the floor boss injects him with some kind of speech reversing serum, which causes Shin to start speaking backwards, and I don't quite know what the point of that was, but I guess now we have to just kind of deal with trying to decipher Shin's dialogue. When Sakamoto breaks free from the locker, he throws a haymaker at the floor boss, but he eats it. He wasn't even phased and was even able to inject Sakamoto with a different type of serum, which caused him to punch Shin in the face. It's like the reverse speech thing that Shin has, but it reverses his actions instead. So when Sakamoto tries to hit the floor boss, he ends up hitting Shin instead. Luckily, Sakamoto instantly realizes the pattern and does the opposite and cracks the floor boss right in the face. And that's the end of chapter 24, and like I said, we got so much crucial information from this chapter, which leaves the remainder of the arc open for interpretation, creating a mist of anticipation and mystery, which is great. Moving on to chapter 25, in this chapter we learn more about the overseer of B1, Mad Horiguchi, and his abilities. Also, the injection in Sakamoto's neck wasn't a reverse action, but rather it caused him to invert enemies and allies in his brain. And the unique thing about it is that Mad Horiguchi can switch it on or off, so if Sakamoto tries to counter the effect of the injection by hitting Shin, Horiguchi shuts it off and Sakamoto actually does hit Shin. Horiguchi then starts injecting himself with roids and starts ragdolling Shin and stopping Sakamoto's attacks by controlling his movements and then countering. Shin's mind reading ability are practically useless against this guy, and Sakamoto with all his power is also helpless because he has no control over his body. At this point, Horiguchi is picking apart Shin and Sakamoto and goes as far as to insult Shin about his power and even flip him the bird, and this is all happening because the mad scientist Horiguchi has such a deep understanding of his ability and uses it to its fullest potential. His ability is simply science. His mastery and manipulation of science is what allows him to wreck Shin and Sakamoto. There's nothing special about him. Actually, that's a lie because he does turn into the hawk towards the end of the fight. But in all seriousness, Sakamoto-days uses his power mastery thing so well, and while Horiguchi's science abilities are impressive, no one has better mastery of their power than Shin. He uses his powers brilliantly, but when they're not enough, Shin has his secret weapon, Sakamoto, and when those two combine their powers, they're absolutely unstoppable. We constantly see characters using their powers and abilities in creative and interesting ways, which can change the tide of battle in an instant, and this time it's no different. Just like the time Shin's power failed him at the amusement park against a spiky-haired guy, and now when his abilities fare useless against Horiguchi, he relies on Sakamoto so they can combine their powers and defeat their enemy. And the way they accomplished this was by having Sakamoto punch everything while telling Shin where he was intending to hit, allowing for Shin to dodge his fury of punches, and that's just incredible. Shin and Sakamoto really insinuate how people are stronger together rather than alone, and I can't wait to see what other attacks those two come up with. I'm also so curious about the other bosses because Mad Horiguchi Suraguchi honestly was the hardest challenge for both Shin and Sakamoto, so I really want to see how the other bosses are going to challenge them next. Let me also add that the current state of Sakamoto-days makes me so happy because it doesn't just rely on Sakamoto, and Shin is a fantastic sidekick, the fighting mechanics are unpredictable, and the possibilities for the series are endless. Also, I want to make a quick prediction on what I think is going to happen in the next chapter. I think we're going to see Lu and Asakura run into Saba, because I think no one is overseeing B4 at the moment, because Saba and Kashima left Lu and Asakura in the cell in B4 and both went to B5 after, so even if there's another commander at B4 and Lu and Asakura engage with them, I think that Saba and Kashima would intervene, and I doubt that Lu would have to face all three of them with only the help of Asakura. It just makes more sense for her to fight Saba. She can use her drunk Tai Chi to feel the rhythm of his movements or something because he's invisible, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Anyways, that's all I got. Thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated, and have an amazingly fantastic day.